Educational Communications and this station present Environmental Directions with Nancy Perlman. On this series, we explore the effects of human influence on the Earth's ecosystems and discuss solutions to environmental problems which affect the quality of life on this planet. Environmental Directions gives you the kind of information you need to help you participate in decisions impacting your community, the nation, and the world. Now, here's your host, Nancy Perlman.
Hello. We're going to be talking about theater and how indigenous myths are performed and shared through plays as we learn more about how our earth and our sky interact. With my guest, Armina LaManna. She is a director, producer, and playwright, and is the artistic director of Imagine Theater. She began her career in theater at the age of 6 in the former USSR, but has many U.S. theater credits, and the list of theaters she's been with is very extensive, as well as having playwriting credits for Warrior Queen, Anna Hit, The Brave, Tale of Turandot, Pushkin at Boldino, and Lost in La Porte. And she does translations and adaptations of many other plays as well. She's a recipient of the Samuel Fells Fund Dramaturgy Internship and has been honored by the International Armenian Chamber of Commerce as an Outstanding Woman of 2019. She's a member of the Stage Directors and Choreographers Society and Actors Equity Association and the Directors Guild. She's a member of the adjunct faculty at Glendale Community College and California State University, Northridge. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you back on Environmental Directions.
Thank you. I'm delighted to come back.
This time, you picked an interesting myth from South Africa, a Khoisan myth set on the African savanna. You weren't from there. Why did you pick that environment and that myth?
I am a very big Star Trek fan. I was watching an episode of Star Trek Discovery, which is one of the newer series in the Star Trek canon. On one of the episodes, the protagonist in the series was talking about a Khoisan myth, about a girl who invents the stars. And I remember hearing that and thinking, oh my goodness, what a beautiful myth. It would be so amazing to write a play about that. So I Googled it to find out if it was a real myth or it was something that they created for that episode. And hold and behold, there it was. It was a real myth from the Khoisan people.
And those people are an ancient ethnic group with a long and intriguing history. They're really believed to be the oldest human inhabitants of southern Africa.
Of the world, actually. They're considered to be the oldest humans.
In your play, The Girl Who Made the Milky Way, you present not just a human being, but you have many different characters. Animals who talk, trees, mountains, spirits. I think it's necessary for you to tell us what the myth is really about.
Absolutely. When I found out that this was a true story, I knew that we had to get this myth made, and I reached out to a friend and a colleague of mine, June Carroll, who is a playwright and actor. She's quite prolific in her own right. I asked her about writing the story for us. We commissioned her to write The Girl Who Made the Milky Way. She brought sophistication and complexity that I wanted for a story like this. She dug into the myth. She dug into the characters that are native to Khoisan mythology and South African mythology and the mythology of the Sun people, and she created this wonderful story about a young girl. It's a coming-of-age story for her. Her name is Little Sister. The journey that she travels in the play is remarkable, whimsical, magical adventure as she encounters all kinds of spirits, animals from South African folklore and mythology, and how she interacts with them, what she learns from them, what they learn from her, how they help her or not help her. And it's this amazing adventure, amazing trek and journey that allows Little Sister to get a better understanding of who she is, the world she lives in, and the people and creatures and spirits that surround her and share this world of ours.
I had fun reading it because your public performances are just going to be starting this month, and I encourage everybody to go see it because I can imagine the characters in costume, just seeing them interact, the lion, the hare. Could you tell us why some of them are just called the lion, are just called by what they are, and others you use the traditional name?
Sure. June got all of these characters from mythology, so they all existed this way in mythology. The lion, the hare, the mantis. Mantis is one of the most famous creatures from Khoisan mythology. The other creatures, for example, we have Gauna, also known as Gaunab, who is the king of spirits. He is sort of the king of chaos. And then we have the moon. Moon, of course, in in all mythology, and in Croatian mythology, moon is a character. For those of us who are big Joseph Campbell fans, we know how mythology from different people repeats itself, right, and reinvents itself in different ways. That's why June named them that way, because that's how they were presented in the myths themselves.
In traditional mythologies, practically around the world, there are characters that are tricksters. Could you explain what a trickster is and how the trickster interrelates with the humans and the other animals and plants?
Oh, yes, I love my job. Where else am I going to get to talk about a trickster? Yes, absolutely. A trickster is somebody who is basically a charlatan, a con artist, who can trick you, who can change form, can change their shape, can be a shapeshifter. And the mantis does that. The mantis, for example, in myth and in our play, can turn into Stormbird, can turn into fire, can turn into many different things. Gauna, the king of spirits, is a shapeshifter. All these fascinating characters that are in there. Several of them are tricksters. Basically, the creatures who try to get away with things, who try to either steal or defraud or trick you into doing something for them that is advantageous only to them. The trickster. I love it.
I enjoyed the fact that some of these characters helped a tree move to another location, because normally trees are stationary where they are.
Yes, that is actually really funny, because one of the lines the tree says is, I need a change of scenery. And I love Max Lawrence, who portrays several of the characters, including Gauna and the moon and the tree. And he's such a creative actor, and the way that he has brought life to the tree, it's fascinating. You have to come see it. You have to bring your kids to come see it, but I absolutely love it.
You also had the son of wind, who liked to play some tricks, and there were a lot of riddles in the play.
Yes, so this is the second play we've done that has riddles. The very first main stage play that we did at the colony was The Tale of Turandot. Its history goes back to the opera Turandot, and before that the Carlo Gozzi play Turandot, and before that the Persian and Chinese fairy tale. It was about a princess who doesn't want to get married, so she gives these riddles to all the gentlemen callers, so to speak, and they fail the riddles, and that's how she staves them off. But in this one, the king of spirits, he has a contract. It's unclear. It's very ambiguous with whom he has this contract, probably with himself. But he has this contract that if he asks you a riddle, you are required to answer his riddle. It's his contract, but somehow all the other creatures of the savannah are bound by this contract, and it's very funny how he uses those riddles to really control and trick people.
Little sister and her animal friends were trying to take a gift to the moon, so the moon would return some lost items like shoes and even return her father. How did they approach the moon, and what finally happened that she was able to create the Milky Way?
I would love to tell you. Little Sister is introduced in the very beginning of the play when Mantis, who's also the narrator, tells us about Little Sister. We find out early on that she can change things and turn them from one thing to another. She can turn milk sour, she can turn other things into other things, and Mantis gently berates her in the beginning and says, you can't just turn one thing into another thing. And then later on, when they commit to this very long journey to the other edge of the savannah, and they travel through, they encounter all the other characters, and they have all these adventures, and they finally get to the Sky God tree, which is a very ancient, tall tree that they must climb all the way up to heaven with that tree and get onto a cloud where the heavens are to talk to the moon. When they finally get up there, the moon doesn't really want to spend any time with them. The moon is having a tantrum, basically. He's upset with hair. He's upset with everybody. He's upset that everybody wants to be with the sun and not with the moon, that everybody loves heat more than him. So he is very resentful. They're having this conversation between these archetypal characters, Little Sister and the moon. Suddenly, Gauna, the king of spirits, rushes in and tries to disrupt this meeting because he no longer wants to be the king of spirits, you see, and he wants to be the moon now, the moon's job. As he interferes, all this chaos ensues because of it. In a moment of self-defense, Little Sister uses the little fireplace that the moon has to shove embers at Gauna to protect herself, but instead the embers fly up and turn into stars.
The stories are so enjoyable to read, the way the play was written. I so much look forward to seeing it. But throughout the play, there are little tiny elements of other pieces of environmental information. For example, the moon complained that the moon never got thanks for creating the tides, and we know how important the tides are here on Earth.
We do indeed. One of the ways that we are creating the physical world of the play is to instill this love of the savannah. Because, kids in Los Angeles, most have not seen the savannah, and we want them to see it. And we are very happy to know that the South African government is doing so much more to classify more of its land, more of its savannah as protected by the government, because we all know what's happening with our planet. We all know what we're doing to our resources. We all know what we're doing to our forests, to our tundra. We all know this. It's not a secret. Also, I'm delighted to hear that the South African government is investing in classifying more of its land under protected category. Every issue is tied to another.
It seems as though traditional stories and myths do relate humans to their natural environment. Do you find that to be a pretty common denominator throughout the world?
Oh, it is absolutely the common denominator. All our myths, humans, are tied to their land, and they're tied to the creatures that they share that land with. All of our mythology, whether you go to India, whether you go to Sri Lanka, where you go to Egypt, it doesn't matter. All those myths, they tie us to the environment, all of them. And that's because we all were much more connected to our world, to our earth, to our environment than we are today.
Are you planning to carry on the tradition of putting these myths into the theatrical form for all of us to enjoy from other cultures, other locations?
Indeed, we are. We have student matinees during the week, and we have public performances on weekends. So we are very, very delighted to have all these relationships with the schools and with our community. We are here to serve our community.
And while the play, The Girl Who Made the Milky Way, is being promoted for young audiences, I can attest after reading the play that adults will enjoy it as well. How do they get more information? Where is your theater? And tell us what other plays will be forthcoming.
Sure, I would love to tell you. So I am incredibly happy and honored to announce that this production is actually a co-production, and it's presented in partnership with the Colony Theater. So they are partners in storytelling. We are presenting this production together. Even though we've always been at the Colony and our home is the Colony, this is the first time we're doing something together. The Colony Theater, where our production is taking place, is located at 555 North 3rd Street in Burbank, California. We share parking structure with the Burbank Mall, so parking is free. We love to welcome your families and your children, those who are 5 and older. We specifically curate and create this programming for school-age children, not younger. We just hope that you will come and check it out. Visit our website, imaginetheaterca.org or colonytheater.org. You'll have all the information there. Take your kids away from their cell phones for a little bit. Come travel to a land far away, to a place long ago, and go on a journey, learn about a new culture, a new people, and expand your world.
To get tickets or more information about dates and times, what's the website?
imaginetheaterca.org. Website is spelled imaginetheaterca.org, or colonytheater.org, also spelled the British way with an R-E at the end. So please visit those websites. We have 5 public performances on weekends and 9 student matinees for local schools. We hope to see you at the theater.
Thank you so very much for making these performances available. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me again. I am delighted to speak with you. Thank you for your time.
I have been speaking with Armina LaManna, who is a director, producer, and playwright, and the artistic director of Imagine Theater. I'm Nancy Perlman. Thank you very much for joining us, and do tune in again next week.
If you would like free information about these environmental issues, go to www.ecoprojects.org or call 310-559-9160. Environmental Directions with your host, Nancy Perlman, is a community affairs program of the nonprofit organization Educational Communications and this station.